Marcus had only one sandwich left until payday. When he saw 8-year-old Emma crying alone in the park, hungry and abandoned, he gave her his last meal without hesitation. He had no idea this simple act of kindness would change his life forever, or that Emma's mother was secretly a billionaire. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. Marcus wiped the sweat from his forehead as he walked out of the construction site. His back ached, his hands were rough from the day's work, and his stomach growled loudly. He reached into his lunchbox and pulled out a peanut butter sandwich wrapped in yesterday's newspaper. It was his last one until payday, which was still 3 days away. His phone buzzed with another overdue notice. The electricity bill. Marcus sighed deeply, knowing he had to choose between keeping the lights on or buying groceries for his 7-year-old daughter Lily. Being a single father wasn't easy, especially when every dollar counted. As he walked through the park on his way home, Marcus heard a sound that made his heart break. A little girl, maybe 8 years old, was sitting alone on a bench, crying her heart out. Her clothes were expensive looking, but she seemed lost and frightened. "Hey there," Marcus said gently, approaching the bench. "Are you okay, sweetheart?" The girl looked up with tear-filled eyes. She had golden hair and the saddest expression Marcus had ever seen. "I'm hungry," she whispered. "I've been waiting here for hours and nobody came to get me." Marcus looked around the empty park. It was getting dark and this little girl was all alone. His heart went out to her immediately. "What's your name?" he asked, sitting down beside her. "Emma," she said softly. "Emma Richardson. My mommy was supposed to pick me up from school, but she never came. The teacher brought me here and said someone would come, but nobody did." Marcus felt anger rise in his chest. What kind of parent leaves their child waiting like this? But looking at Emma's innocent face, his anger melted into compassion. "Well, Emma, I'm Marcus. And you know what? I have a sandwich here. Would you like to share it with me?" Emma's eyes widened. "Really? But it's yours." Marcus smiled, even though his stomach was growling. Food always tastes better when you share it with a friend. He unwrapped the sandwich and handed her half. Emma took a small bite and then devoured it hungrily. Marcus watched her eat, taking only tiny bites of his own half to make sure she had enough. "Thank you," Emma said, wiping her mouth. "You're very kind, Mr. Marcus." "Call me Marcus," he said with a warm smile. "Now let's figure out how to get you home safely." Emma pulled out a crumpled piece of paper from her pocket. "This has my address, but I don't know how to get there." Marcus looked at the address and his eyes widened. It was in the wealthiest part of the city, about 30 minutes away. The cab fare alone would cost him more than he had in his wallet. "Don't worry," Marcus said. "We'll get you home." He counted the bills in his wallet. $23. Barely enough for the bus fare for both of them, with nothing left over. But looking at Emma's trusting face, he knew he couldn't leave her alone. They took 2 buses to reach Emma's neighborhood. Marcus had never been in this part of the city before. The houses were like mansions, with perfectly manicured lawns and expensive cars in the driveways. "That one?" Emma pointed to a huge house with iron gates. "That's my home." As they approached the house, Marcus noticed several police cars parked outside. His heart raced. Something was wrong. A woman rushed out of the house as soon as she saw Emma. She was elegant, well-dressed, but her face was streaked with tears. "Emma. Oh my God, Emma." The woman ran to her daughter and swept her into her arms. "I was so worried. Where have you been?" "Mommy, this is Marcus," Emma said. "He gave me his sandwich when I was hungry and brought me home safely." The woman looked at Marcus with grateful eyes. "Sir, I can't thank you enough. I'm Victoria Richardson. My driver was supposed to pick Emma up from school, but he had an accident. I've been searching everywhere for her." Marcus nodded. "I'm just glad she's safe, ma'am." Victoria noticed Marcus's work clothes, his tired expression, and the way he kept shifting his weight from foot to foot. "Please come inside. I insist. You've done something incredible for my family." "That's not necessary," Marcus said. "I just did what anyone would do." "No," Victoria said firmly. "You did what a good person would do. There's a difference." Reluctantly, Marcus followed them inside. The house was beyond anything he had ever imagined. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, artwork that probably cost more than his annual salary. Emma ran upstairs to her room, calling back, "Marcus, come see my dollhouse." Victoria smiled. "She's taken quite a liking to you. Emma doesn't warm up to people easily, especially not after." She paused. "After her father left us 6 months ago." Marcus felt a pang of understanding. "I'm sorry to hear that. I know how hard it is to raise a child alone." You have children? Victoria asked. A daughter. Lily. She's 7, just about Emma's age. Victoria's expression softened. Where is she now? At our neighbor's house. Mrs. Chen watches her after school until I get home from work. Victoria was quiet for a moment, studying Marcus's face. There was something about this man that intrigued her. His kindness was genuine, not calculated. In her world of business deals and social climbing, she rarely met people like him. What do you do for work? She asked. Construction, Marcus said. I work for Henderson Building Company. Victoria's eyes widened slightly. Henderson Building Company was one of the contractors her company used regularly. Small world. Emma came bounding down the stairs. Marcus, will you come back and visit me? Marcus smiled. I'd like that, Emma. But I should probably get going. Lily will be wondering where I am. Wait, Victoria said. Let me drive you home. It's the least I can do. Marcus started to protest, but Victoria was already grabbing her car keys. They drove through the city in Victoria's expensive sedan, and Marcus couldn't help but notice the contrast between Emma's neighborhood and his own. When they reached his small apartment building, Victoria looked around with new eyes. The building was old but well-maintained, and there was something warm and welcoming about it. This is us, Marcus said, pointing to a window on the 3rd floor where a small light glowed. Thank you again, Victoria said. For everything. Marcus nodded and started to get out of the car, but Emma grabbed his hand. Will I see you again? She asked with hopeful eyes. I hope so, Marcus said honestly. As Victoria drove away, she couldn't stop thinking about Marcus. There was something special about him, something that made her feel things she hadn't felt in years. The next day at work, Victoria found herself distracted. She was the CEO of Richardson Industries, a multi-billion-dollar company that her father had built and she had expanded. She was used to making important decisions, managing hundreds of employees and closing million-dollar deals. But today, all she could think about was a construction worker who had given his last sandwich to a crying child. Meanwhile, Marcus was at the construction site, working harder than usual to make up for the money he'd spent on bus fare the day before. His stomach growled, reminding him that he'd skipped breakfast to save money. During his lunch break, Marcus's phone rang. It was an unknown number. Hello, he answered. Marcus? This is Victoria Richardson, Emma's mother. Marcus's heart skipped a beat. Oh hi. Is everything okay? Is Emma all right? She's fine thanks to you. Actually, I was wondering if you and Lily would like to join us for dinner tonight. Emma hasn't stopped talking about you and I'd love to meet your daughter. Marcus hesitated. That's very kind of you, but I don't think we'd fit in with your lifestyle. Please, Victoria said softly. Emma needs positive male role models in her life and frankly so do I. You've already shown more kindness to my daughter than most people in our social circle have shown in years. Something in her voice made Marcus reconsider. Okay, he said. But somewhere simple. I don't want Lily to feel uncomfortable. How about the park where you found Emma? We could have a picnic. Marcus smiled. That sounds perfect. That evening, Marcus and Lily met Victoria and Emma at the park. Lily was shy at first, but Emma quickly drew her into playing on the swings. The two girls became fast friends, their laughter filling the air. Victoria had brought an elaborate picnic spread, but Marcus had insisted on contributing his homemade fried chicken, which both girls declared was the best they'd ever tasted. You're a good cook, Victoria said, surprised. I had to learn, Marcus replied. When it's just you and your kid, you figure out how to do everything. As the evening progressed, Victoria found herself opening up to Marcus in ways she hadn't with anyone in years. She told him about the pressure of running a company, the loneliness of her position, and the guilt she felt about not being there when Emma needed her. Marcus listened without judgment, offering quiet support and understanding. When Victoria mentioned how difficult it was to trust people's motives, given her wealth, Marcus nodded. Money changes how people see you, he said. But it doesn't change who you are inside. How do you stay so positive? Victoria asked. You're working so hard, struggling to make ends meet, and yet you're the kindest person I've met in years. Marcus watched Lily and Emma playing together. Because of her, he said simply. Every day I get to be her dad is a gift. The rest is just details. Victoria felt tears prick her eyes. When was the last time someone had spoken about parenthood with such pure love? Over the following weeks, the four of them began spending more time together. Victoria would pick up both girls from school and take them to the park. Marcus would join them after work, often bringing simple homemade snacks that the girls loved more than any expensive restaurant meal. Victoria began to see the world through Marcus's eyes. She noticed things she'd never paid attention to before. The way he always held doors open for strangers, how he knew the names of all the security guards in her building, the way he taught both girls to say thank you to everyone who helped them. Marcus, in turn, was amazed by Victoria's intelligence and business acumen. She wasn't just wealthy, she was brilliant. But more than that, he saw how much she loved Emma, how she was trying to balance being a successful businesswoman with being a good mother. One evening, as they sat on a bench watching the girls play, Victoria turned to Marcus. "I need to tell you something," she said. "My company, Richardson Industries, we're looking for a new project manager for our construction division. The salary is substantial and it comes with full benefits, including health insurance and education funds." Marcus looked at her suspiciously. "Victoria, if this is charity?" "It's not," she said firmly. "I've seen how you interact with people, how you solve problems, how you lead by example. You have natural leadership skills that can't be taught. My HR department has been searching for months for the right person." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "What would happen between us? I mean, if I worked for your company?" Victoria's heart raced. "I don't know," she said honestly. "But I know I don't want to lose what we have." "And what do we have?" Marcus asked softly. Victoria looked into his eyes. "Something real," she whispered. That night, Marcus lay awake thinking about Victoria's offer. It would change everything for him and Lily. No more worrying about bills, no more choosing between electricity and groceries. But more than that, it would mean staying close to Victoria and Emma. He'd fallen in love with Victoria, though he'd been afraid to admit it, even to himself. She was brilliant, beautiful, and kind. But she was also a billionaire and he was a construction worker. Could it really work? The next morning, Marcus made his decision. He called Victoria. "I'll take the job," he said. "But I have conditions." "Name them." "I want to earn my place. No special treatment because of our relationship. And I want to start at the bottom of the management track and work my way up." Victoria smiled even though he couldn't see it. "Deal." 6 months later, Marcus had proven himself to be one of the most effective project managers Richardson Industries had ever had. His crews respected him, his projects came in on time and under budget, and his natural leadership skills had impressed everyone in the company. More importantly, he and Victoria had grown closer. They spent almost every evening together with the girls, who had become inseparable. Marcus had moved to a better apartment, but he'd chosen one in a middle-class neighborhood, not wanting to lose touch with his roots. One evening, as they walked through the same park where they'd first met, Victoria stopped at the bench where Marcus had found Emma. "I never properly thanked you," she said. "For what?" "For saving my daughter. For showing me what real kindness looks like. For teaching me that the most important things in life can't be bought." Marcus took her hand. "You saved me too," he said. "You gave me hope for a better future, not just financially but emotionally. You showed me that love doesn't have boundaries." "I love you, Marcus," Victoria said, tears in her eyes. "I love your integrity, your kindness, your strength. I love the way you make Emma laugh and the way you've never once asked me for anything." "I love you too," Marcus replied. "I love your intelligence, your passion, the way you light up when you talk about your work. I love that you see people's hearts, not just their circumstances." As they kissed under the stars, Lily and Emma ran up to them, giggling. "Are you going to get married?" Emma asked with the directness only children possess. Marcus and Victoria looked at each other and smiled. "Would you like that?" Victoria asked both girls. "Yes," they shouted in unison. 1 year later, Marcus and Victoria were married in a simple ceremony in the park where they'd met. Emma and Lily were the flower girls, and Marcus's construction crew served as groomsmen alongside Victoria's business associates. The wedding reception was held at a community center in Marcus's neighborhood. Victoria had wanted to show that their love bridged all worlds. The guests included billionaire CEOs and construction workers, and everyone mixed together naturally, united by their affection for the couple. In his wedding speech, Marcus talked about how a single act of kindness had changed 4 lives forever. He spoke about how sharing his last sandwich had led him to discover that the richest treasures in life weren't material things, but the connections we make with others. Victoria talked about how Marcus had taught her that true wealth wasn't measured in dollars, but in the love you give and receive. She announced that Richardson Industries would be starting a new charitable foundation focused on helping single parents, inspired by Marcus's story. As the evening wound down, Marcus and Victoria found themselves back at the bench where it all began. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you'd walked a different way that day?" Victoria asked. Marcus shook his head. I believe we were meant to find each other. Emma needed help, you needed someone genuine in your life, and I needed to be reminded that good things can happen to good people. And now, Marcus looked at his new wife, his stepdaughter playing with his daughter, their families and friends celebrating together. Now I know that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can create the biggest changes. One sandwich led to all of this. Victoria smiled. The best investment I never made. What do you mean? I would have given you $1 million that first night as a reward for helping Emma. But you would have taken it and disappeared thinking it was charity. Instead, I got something much more valuable. What's that? A real family. A love built on mutual respect and genuine affection. A partner who challenges me to be better while accepting me exactly as I am. Marcus pulled her close. And I got the same thing. Plus 2 amazing daughters and a job I love. As they sat together in comfortable silence, watching their daughters play in the moonlight, Marcus reflected on how dramatically his life had changed. He'd gone from worrying about his next meal to being part of a loving, secure family. But the most important change wasn't financial. The most important change was learning that love doesn't see social status, bank accounts, or background. Love sees character, kindness, and the willingness to put others before yourself. Emma ran up to them, out of breath from playing. Marcus, will you tell me the story again about how you and Mommy met? Marcus smiled and pulled both girls onto his lap. Well, it all started with a sandwich, he began. Not just any sandwich, but the last sandwich of a man who believed that sharing what little you have is always better than keeping it all to yourself. As he told the story, Victoria watched her husband's face glow with happiness. She thought about how different her life might have been if Marcus had walked past that bench, if he'd decided his own hunger was more important than a crying child's, if he'd been like so many others who turn away from those in need. But Marcus wasn't like other people. He was the kind of man who gives away his last sandwich to a stranger's child. He was the kind of man who takes 2 buses using his last $20 to make sure a little girl gets home safely. He was the kind of man who sees a person's heart before anything else. And that, Victoria realized, was worth more than all the money in the world. Years later, when Emma and Lily were teenagers, they would often bring their friends to hear the story of how their parents met. The story of the last sandwich became family legend, a reminder that kindness is never wasted, that love can bloom in the most unexpected places, and that sometimes the most beautiful stories begin with the simplest acts of human decency. Marcus kept a photo on his desk at work, a picture of that first picnic in the park, all 4 of them laughing together. Whenever work got stressful or life presented challenges, he would look at that photo and remember the day he chose to share his last sandwich with a crying little girl. It was the best decision he ever made. And in a world that often seems divided by wealth, status, and circumstance, their story served as a reminder that the things that truly matter, love, kindness, family, and compassion, are available to everyone, regardless of what they have in their wallet or their bank account. The last sandwich had become the first chapter of a love story that would last a lifetime.